Everyone wants to build, right? But money to get the job done, well, that's the hard part. So, a lot of people who come to me don't have all the funds to do the work. And since they see us posting a lot of videos about saving money, saving on the foundation, saving on the walls, saving on the overall construction of the structure, the people who come to me usually don't have the full amount to do the project they want. So what happens? Unfortunately, I'm not a bank. I can't lend money, and I don't even have the money for that, you know. Because if I had that kind of money, I wouldn't be here right now recording a video. I'd be on a beach drinking some coconut water. Isn't that the truth? But let's get to it. Since I don't have money to lend and help these people build and make their dreams come true, the least I can do is provide completely free information. And in this video, I'm going to give you 8 tips. Wait a second. 8 tips, there we go. That will help you get your project off the ground and bring your construction to life, even if you don't have a lot of funds for it, which I know is a problem most people face. So, do you want to know what these 8 tips are that can help you make your dream a reality? Stick with me until the end of this video, because we're going to talk about that right now. Shall we? And to start, I think you could go ahead and leave a like down below, right? Because that will help me spread this information. And you'll be helping more people who want to build but don't have all the funds to get these 8 tips and, who knows, maybe make their dreams come true too. So, do me a favor, help me get this information to as many people as possible. Just leave a like. And if you can share it with your friends, that will also really help us get these 8 tips to everyone who needs this knowledge. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe right now, because the next videos we post could really help you with your current construction or your next project, who knows. It doesn't cost anything, it's free. Just click the subscribe button, activate the bell, and you'll automatically be notified every time we post a new video. Sound good? It's really worth it for you to be subscribed with the bell activated. You can believe me. So, let's get to it. The first tip, and one of the most valuable of all, is called financial planning. Man, the number of people I see starting a project without any financial planning is not even funny. It's a whole lot of people. And when I say financial planning, it basically means having a well-defined project, because there's no way for you to know how much you're going to spend if you don't know exactly what you're going to build. And after the project is defined, you need to have a very realistic, well-prepared budget. So, with a project, you've defined what you're going to build. With a budget, you know exactly how much you're going to spend to build the project. And then, you can set up your financial plan. Let's say your budget includes all the finishes, all the materials, and gets your house ready just the way you dreamed. And the total cost is $200,000. If you only have $100,000, then you can create a financial plan to spend that $100,000, maybe pause the project for a bit, and then spend the rest as you get more money, or maybe finance the other $100,000. Or even try to trim the budget a bit, removing some finishes, taking out some more expensive things, and putting in cheaper ones to reduce the final cost. So, the first and most valuable tip is financial planning. Based on a well-defined project and a very realistic budget. And the second tip, and I talk about this in several videos here, yet some people still don't get it, is to have a very simple project, a project optimized for your needs, to meet strictly what you require. So, I'll give you an example. When I was building this office here, a lot of people gave their 2 cents. Cristiano, make a cantilever slab in the front, to have a parapet, put a roof on top, put a bathroom downstairs, a bathroom upstairs, a bathroom I don't know where. Anyway, lots of tips, but I knew I needed to save money, because I didn't have much money. So what I needed was basically the simplest thing possible to meet my needs. And what were my needs? To have an office to work in, to record videos, and to meet with my clients. And here is the office, which I spent very little on. There are videos here on the channel showing it. If you haven't seen them, I've already put it in the card. The investment in this whole structure was very low, even including the finishes. Why? Because I made the simplest project possible, a square project, a project that meets my needs, without much luxury and without much variation. So, if you have few resources to build and you're going to design a house with a double-height ceiling, with cantilever slabs, with mezzanines, you know, with a floating garage, a rooftop pool, whatever, all of that adds a lot of cost to the construction. And if you have few resources, the last thing you need is to waste money on nonsense. So, take it from me. Make a very simple, square, optimized project. If you have money to spare, excellent. Design it the way you've always dreamed, the way you visualize it in your mind. But if you don't, my friend, like most people, then make a simple, very basic project, because that way, for sure, you'll be able to get your dream off the drawing board. Otherwise, it will be much more difficult for that to happen. It's the choice of the land. And the third tip is the choice of the land. The land is fundamental in defining how much you're going to spend on your construction. Because if you're going to build on slope land, right, land that goes up, land that goes down, in other words, a slope, let's say, you're going to spend a lot more on the foundation. In some cases, you'll even spend money on landfill to fill in the base and raise the floor level. In other cases, you'll spend money to remove soil from your land, depending on the foundation's elevation. Anyway, slope land is more expensive to build on, it's harder to do the foundation, it takes more time, and you will necessarily spend a lot more. The same goes for fragile land, swampy land, land that floods a lot during the rainy season. So it's very important that you do a soil test on the land. The investment in a soil test is minimal compared to the total cost you'll have for the construction, and that way you can determine if that land is fit resistance or poor resistance. And if its resistance is very low, you'll have to invest a lot more in the foundation, make larger footings, make larger, more robust foundations to support the weight of your structure. So, the choice of land is fundamental for you to save on your construction and build with limited resources. Give preference to land that's as flat as possible and resistant. Of course, to make things easier and reduce costs during construction. And the fourth tip is to get affordable materials. It's no use, if you have limited resources, wanting to put the most expensive porcelain tile on the wall, or maybe a state-of-the-art finish on the facade. You need to save money. So you have to invest in more affordable materials to make your construction feasible. And later, in the future, who knows, you can install that light fixture you've always dreamed of, or that giant door you've always dreamed of. But for now, your resources are limited, so invest in affordable materials. That way, you'll be able to move forward with your construction. And the fifth tip has the acronym DIY, which is also known as do-it-yourself construction. It means getting your hands dirty and doing the work yourself. And check this out, I don't know if you know, but here, in this structure where I'm recording now, I did exactly that. I got my hands dirty. I made mortar for the bricklayer, I brought blocks for the bricklayer. I helped him tie rebar, helped him make forms, and assemble the slab. My hands were involved in this entire structure, along with the bricklayers. So, to do this, I simply hired a bricklayer and I was his helper. Even though I'm an engineer, I don't have the practical knowledge of making mortar, making concrete, or laying blocks. I don't do that all day. So I preferred to hire a bricklayer to guide the construction, just as it was in my project, and I supplied him. I was his helper. And that way I saved a lot on labor. This construction ended up being very inexpensive. So, if you have the energy, the willpower, the time, especially, and construction knowledge, it's well worth it to get your hands dirty and do it yourself. And that way you'll be able to spend much less on your structure. And the sixth tip is called smart shopping, like for example, cellular concrete blocks. So, cellular concrete blocks, although more expensive than traditional bricks, generate savings on everything from labor to mortar consumption. They eliminate wood from the construction, reduce concrete, reduce steel, everything becomes easier, everything becomes simpler. And in the end, we usually manage to save 30% on the cost of the structure. I've even managed over 50% on some projects. But those are very specific projects, with very simple and highly modular designs for the blocks. So that's how we achieve greater savings. So when I talk about smart shopping, I mean the most efficient masonry available, in this case cellular concrete blocks, the most efficient roofing available, a more technological, smarter finish that will eliminate steps. All of this is considered smart shopping. And for those of you who like to go on YouTube, who like to search on YouTube, this is the best tool for that. Because every day, new technologies and new processes are being launched. And if you stay tuned, you'll get a lot of information and you'll always be ahead of everyone else who's building. And the seventh tip is called local hiring. When I say local hiring, it means hiring people from the region where you're building. For example, when I do projects that are very far from my headquarters, I always give preference to hiring people from that location, from the region. Because to bring people from far away, for example, from here in Recife where I am, to 100 kilometers, 150 kilometers from my headquarters, I'm going to spend on transportation. I'm going to spend on lodging, I'm going to spend on meals, and possibly accommodation. So, all of that is a cost that goes into our construction budget. And if you get to the region and can find labor, find bricklayers who are already there, right away, you save on accommodation. You save on transportation to the city. They might even need some transportation to get to the worksite, but it'll be much cheaper than bringing someone from 100 kilometers away. And you also save on meals, because if they already live there, you'll probably provide lunch, maybe breakfast, but you won't have to pay for everything. That's different from having to transport someone from another city. So, it's cheaper to build with local people from the region where you're doing the work, compared to bringing people from outside. Now, of course, if you don't have qualified labor, if you don't have quality labor in the place where you're going to build, it's not worth it, even if it's to save money. Low-level labor is never interesting, regardless of the amount you're going to pay for it. So, always invest in qualified labor, quality bricklayers, foremen, helpers, because that will guarantee the quality, speed, and efficiency of your construction. And the eighth and final tip is to divide your work into phases. So I already have specific videos talking about this type of division. If you haven't seen them yet, I've already left it here in the card. Check it out later. Dividing the work into phases is the main strategy used when you don't have all the resources to build. When I say phases, you will divide according to your financial outlay. I don't know what percentage of resources you have to do your construction, but let's suppose you have 50% of the total value to build. So you can divide. For example, what can I do with 50%? I can do the foundation, the walls, the slab, in short, the structure and the enclosure, more or less. So I can get my structure and enclosure ready with the money I have today, and then I'll do other phases that can be applying coatings, and then you spend another amount, it stabilizes. So far you've closed 2 phases. The third phase can be sanitary ware and metals or maybe doors and windows. The fourth phase can be the roofing, waterproofing. In short, you can divide your work into as many phases as necessary for you to be able to execute it even without having all the resources to build. And of course, to divide into phases, I always recommend that you have a professional by your side, at least a planning technician or a building technician who understands construction management, to help you divide this work into phases, so you don't run the risk of, for example, stopping the first phase in the middle of the structure. And then when you come back months later to continue the structure, you could have problems with rebar oxidation, or maybe the sea air damaging something, or even vegetation growing in the masonry or inside your house. Anyway, it's important to divide these phases well. Technically speaking, this is so you don't stop at the wrong time. And when you go to continue, you have problems connecting. To put it crudely, hooking up the new structure you're going to build and carrying on with your construction. Alright. So, I hope these tips help you make your dream a reality and carry out your project, even if you don't have all the resources for it. My name is Tiago Mello, and I'll see you in the next video.